afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we get set for the penultimate race, the race that will set us up to find out who will be the final four to battle for the championship next week at Auto Club. Getting ready to cap off what's been an unbelievable race weekend here at Talladega Superspeedway, and we're ready to kick things off here for 29 laps of racing in chase race number 9 of the Hershey's Cup Series chase for the championship. 8 drivers come in still with their hopes aflame, trying to get themselves into the final 4 available spots to battle in the finale with the championship on the line. 4 drivers will be ending today with the drop of the checkered flag, no longer in the hunt for the championship. We're going to have to see who will be the final 4 that will move on and who will be the 4 that will be dreaming about next year in hopes of trying to get that illustrious trophy. We are going to get set here as we've got a chaser starting on the pole, Anthony McCrury, and this may be the best scenario for McCrury coming into this race because Anthony McCrury comes into this race as the points leader of the 8 drivers that are still in the hunt for the championship. And if we look in terms of that cut line of 4th in the standings, because up to this point we have had 2 races in this round, no chaser has gone to victory lane to lock up a spot yet. So right now, all 4 drivers that make it into the final 4 would have to make it in on points, and McCrury ahead of that 4th in the standings cut line is 37 points ahead. That theoretically is a couple spots less than an entire full field, of almost a full race ahead. So with the stage points, it could be a little bit different, but right now he's in a very good spot, and he starts on the inside of the first row here today, alongside of Keith Batson. Batson is still looking for his first career win and still looking to get Lincoln to victory lane for the first time in their Hershey's Cup Series career. The next highest starting chaser rolling off there in 6th, J Baskinger. We'll fill you in on all the point scenario and a couple of interesting stats, but for now we're going down trackside to get those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines.
And of course we have our 3 stages today, and those stage points could be so important as to who's moving into the final 4 and who isn't. 29 laps, we're going to split it right down the middle with 3 stages, so we got 10, 10, and the final stage will be 9 laps in total. We mentioned McCrury comes in the points leader. Right now, the 4 drivers, if the race were to end right now, the 4 drivers that would transfer into the season finale at Auto Club battling for the championship are McCrury, 2nd in the points, Blaine Keys. He's 15 points out of the top spot. And we've got a tie for 3rd between Charles Sandfer and J Baskinger. They are 16 points each out of the points lead. 37 back is Trent Dunham. He's just outside the cut line. Then you've got 6th in the points, Matt Haas, who's a former winner at this track this season. He's 39 points back. Sean Gallighan is 7th in the points, 56 points back. And J Bryant is 8th in points, 58 points back. Keep in mind, if any of these 8 drivers go to victory lane today, doesn't matter how far back they are in the points, automatically they are locked into the final 4 at the season finale at Auto Club. Here we go then. Let's get ready to turn them loose. 4 drivers will move on from 8. Green flag is out here at Talladega. And look at that. 3 wide, 2 rows deep. Let's go 4 wide for the lead in the first lap. Why don't we? J Gardner to the bottom. And we're going to see this all day long. 4 wide racing all the way through this field, and this track can hold them. Gardner using that outside line now as he swung up to the high side. He's going to try and have the top position. And here comes a driver trying to chase history. D Poteet to the race lead, looking to have an unprecedented 5th win in a single season. He right now is tied with Charles Sandfer for most wins in a single season with 4 after picking up the victory last week at Homestead Miami Speedway. Johnny Gardner, Lee and Alvarise, Garrett Sydnor there, and here comes the driver that's won here the last time we were at this track. Matt Haas would love to have a victory and move immediately into the final 4. And you'll see these chasers popping in and out of the top 10, but I think when they'll really start making the charges towards the front is when it gets down to the end of laps 10, 20, and of course the checkered flag at lap 29. They're going to want those valuable stage points. You know, I was looking at the 8 drivers that are currently coming into this race eligible for the final 4, and I found some very interesting statistics. 50% of our Elite 8 have been in the final 4 at least one time in their career. Anthony McCrury made the Final Four, of course, in his championship season, Season 1, as well as in Season 2. Charles Sandfer was in the Final Four in Season 2 as well when he had his 4 wins. Trent Dunham and J Baskinger both were in their first Final Four last year in Season 3. So those drivers, they know how to get into the Final Four, and we'll have to see if they rise to the occasion in this one. Poteet with a commanding lead right now. The best battle's going on for the second position. A couple of drivers are going to keep an eye on as well. They're going to have a battle on track amongst themselves. We're looking at one of them right there, Tim Walch in the 15. The other one, Dylan Young in the 2. Because another battle that's going on here this season that we don't give a whole lot of TV time to, and we really should, is the battle for top 30 in the point standings. And coming into today's race, Tim Walch is currently 4 points behind Dylan Young for 30th in the point standings. So that position could change after the outcome of this race. J Baskinger right there in second place. I think he's pretty satisfied running where he's at the moment. And here come a couple of the non-chase charter drivers. N Guenther, the driver who went to victory lane here a couple of days ago, picking up his first non-charter win. He's up to third. I also see Carson Gum. He's worked his way up here to the front, as well as Trace Williams, who started dead last in this event. Also seeing Blaine Keys starting to work his way up there in the number 42 car. We know the restrictor plate program of that team. His win this season that got him into the chase for the championship came at M&M Super Speedway, albeit a lot of help from his Sega Motorsports teammate Trent Dunham, but a win is still a win. Another thing we should also keep in mind with as well is we've had 2 races so far here this weekend, the non-charter race for Hershey's Cup as well as the Pizza Next Series race. And in the total of those 2 races, we've only had 2 caution flags here at Talladega this weekend. So, not saying that we're not going to see the caution out, but these drivers do go into long green flag runs, it seems. They race 3 wide, 4 wide, give me a heart attack in almost every turn, but they still keep it together. So if that's the case and they do keep this into a long green flag run, we do have to entertain the possibility of green flag pit stops and pit strategy in this one. And of course, we got a pretty good idea from our Hershey's Cup Series non-charter race that the fuel window is about 13 to 15 laps, which means if this thing does go green all the way to the end, these drivers will have to pit at least once, and it'll be borderline on whether they would have to pit a second time. Non-chasers 2, 3, 4, Guenther, Gum, and Williams trying to work together to reel in Dylan Poteet for the race lead. I'm starting to see some other chasers we haven't talked about working their way to the front. Talked about Blaine Keys there in the 42, but I'm also seeing the 44 of Sean Gallighan, 7th of the 8 chase drivers coming into this race, working his way up here towards the front of the field. So it's also a big opportunity here for teammates to work together. Sega Motorsports and Seth Cole Baker Motorsports have 2 drivers in this Elite 8. Gallighan and McCrury for SCBM, and Sega Motorsports representatives in Blaine Keys and Trent Dunham. All the other drivers, though, don't have a teammate. Sandfer, his teammate Jessica Shelton was eliminated in the first round. Jake Baskinger's teammates were eliminated. John Arndt in the last round, and Garrett Sitter back in the first round. Matt Haas didn't have any teammates. He needed either Seth Cole or John Cittadino to finish in the top 7 in the non-charter race here a couple days ago, and neither one did, so he's basically all alone. The only Toyota that's in the field that can help him right now would be Emmanuel Hartnett in the 83. And JT Bryant, he's got Young Motorsports teammates Dylan Young and Levi McIntyre here, but he's the only lone representative still for Young Motorsports that's in this Elite 8. Dylan Poteet's got a strong car, and he has a win at a super speedway this season. He went to victory lane at Orlando. That was where he picked up, I think it was win number 3. But here comes K Tellier. Had a big run going into turn 1. I thought she might be able to get to the left rear quarter panel, but not quite. And she will maybe try and wind that band up, try the slingshot here down the back straightaway. Tim Walch right behind her, and then side by side between Jessica Shelton and Cody Llamas. Tellier just running the tire tracks right now of Poteet, not getting quite the run she got into turn 1 here in turn 3. And as we're getting closer and closer to the end of stage 1, now we see Sean Gallighan working his way up here into the top 10. You'll see some other chasers try and fight their way up into the top 10 as well. Blaine Keys, Jake Baskinger, they're just on the outside looking in. One thing thing that's boding well for J Baskinger is he has a couple of teammates right around where he's at. J Sydnor in the 38 and J Arndt in the 05. They're both right in his vicinity. Another thing I also noticed, too, that's going to be a battle we should keep an eye on, if we do have a chaser that comes into this race that was 5th through 8th up at the front of the field, is the battle between Charles Sandfer and J Baskinger, because they came into this race tied for 3rd in the point stands, which theoretically would be 3rd and 4th, and that's right on the cut line spot. Well, let's say that Sean Gallighan, J Bryant, M Haas, or Trent Dunham go to victory lane in this one. They immediately leapfrog over those guys up into a slot in the final 4, and it could come down to finishing position between Baskinger and Sandfer as to who's going to be in 4th and who's going to be in 5th when the race ends. As time by, we're going to be completing the first stage, and K Tellier is right on the back bumper of D Poteet. Is she going to push Poteet to the stage winner? Is she going to try for it herself? Right now, she's got no drafting help, though. T Walch, K Llamas, and J Shelton kind of broken up back there 3rd through 5th, which allowed them to not be able to kind of offer that draft K Tellier would need to make a move. So Tellier right now still riding in the tire tracks of D Poteet, and Poteet is going to come to the line, and he's going to pick up the win here in the first stage. Let's see what chasers get any stage points, and it may only be one driver in the 44 of Sean Gallighan. Baskinger might have sneaked in. Yes, he did. Gallighan 6th, Baskinger in 9th. So those two chasers get themselves some very valuable stage points here at the completion of stage 1. Stragglers here at the rear of the field. Z Fitzwater, who went to victory lane last week. I said Poteet went to victory lane last week. That was actually 2 weeks ago when Poteet went to victory lane at Michigan. So I apologize for that error. Z Fitzwater went to victory lane last week at Homestead. Cody Smart back here. He's lost the draft. This is not good for J.T. Bryant, running right there with fellow Ford Elijah Gilbert. Bryant currently scored in the 40th position, and he was 8th of the 8 championship drivers coming into this race. So this is not the run he needed, and this could be his championship hopes gone unless he's able to work some kind of pit strategy magic when and if these drivers have to pit under green flag conditions. Looks like all the other chasers are up inside the top group. Levi McIntyre, L Alvarise back here, N Hudson. Then there's like a second group back here. There's Trent Dunham in this group along with Sandfer and McCrury. In this second pack, Blaine Keys and Matt Haas as well. And this is the lead pack up here, and the only two chase drivers that are up here are Gallighan and Baskinger. And with Poteet crossing the line, we now cross into the window of when we might end up starting to see green flag pit stops take place. And you think the field is spread out now, it's going to get really spread out when these drivers all decide to come to pit road in the upcoming few laps. Some drivers will come in one lap earlier than others. Some will try and stay out. Although I'm not really sure staying out at this point would be a great idea because there's really no stage points on the line. Our next stage doesn't finish until the completion of lap 20, so might be best to come down pit road when everybody else does, so you come out with a pack of race cars instead of all by your lonesome. And the start of the pit stops begin. J Sydnor is going to start it in the 38. Matt Haas, that's one of the championship contenders. He's now in as well, so Sydnor and Haas coming to pit road. Oh, trouble! Trent Dunham just ran into the back of, I think that was Benjamin Miles, and Brooke Allen ran into the back of him, and Trent Dunham's now got a lot of front-end damage, and that is not good for a driver who came in outside of the final 4 spots, and that could be his race over, or at least his championship. And he's out of the race. Oh, man, that is a tough break for Trent Dunham. Levi McIntyre, N Hudson, L Alvarise all in on pit road. Cole Baker as well, former winner at this track. James McCloud, Brandon Gonzales, and Elijah Gilbert, along with Cody Smart and Z Fitzwater. But what a heartbreak for Trent Dunham. Doesn't even get involved in an incident on the track. It's on pit road as Poteet's to the pit lane. We had some chasers take some pit road this time, including J Baskinger. Oh, in trouble for another chaser. That's Charles Sandfer got spun on pit lane. Just at the pit road entrance. Did that bring out a caution? That might have brought out a caution. Carson Gums got damage. Nope, we're still under green. And the driver that stayed out, right there, Sean Gallighan, the 44, so trying to get some track position, but he's all by his lonesome, so I highly question this. He'll be in the next time. Although, with the problems we've seen a couple of chasers have with pit lane entrance, maybe this isn't such a bad idea. Come down a clean pit road rather than with a lot of traffic. Trent Dunham and Charles Sandfer both involved in an incident here on the pit lane, and now Gallighan comes into the attention of his pit crew. Dylan Poteet just leaving contact. Oh, what the heck? Oh my, oh boy, oh boy, oh my. Gallighan gets into his pit stall, but Poteet gets turned around in front of Trace Williams. And Poteet, who was the race leader, now is not going to cycle around as the race leader. And I think Sean Gallighan just had to be pushed back into his pit stall. And that's going to be a long pit stop for the 44. Pit road being more dangerous a place than the racetrack itself. And I have no earthly idea who would cycle around as the leader. Maybe K Llamas in the 48 with the 55 of DJ Curtis right behind him. But my goodness, this race has taken a rather interesting turn as pit road and green flag pit stops have certainly shuffled everything up. And K Llamas is indeed the race leader. DJ Curtis in second. They're now trying to lap Levi McIntyre. Matt Haas currently scored in third, but he's about 4.5 seconds back. Then it's Alvarise. Then Sandfer scored in fifth, so even despite the spin out he had on pit road, nice job of him being able to combat that. Dallas McIntosh has scored in sixth, Hartnett in seventh. Eighth place is, I think, J Arndt. With ninth, K Tellier, and it looks like G Sydnor will cycle around in the 10th position. But this is what we talked about with this kind of race with the pit stops as they are, the green flag pit stops, the field entirely spread out. Sean Gallighan still sitting on pit road. They had to push his car into his pit stall after the contact with Dylan Poteet. So right there, three chase drivers with issues here during the cycle of green flag pit stops. Gallighan sitting still on pit road. Charles Sandfer still in the top 5, but he's got some rear end damage. And Trent Dunham out of this race, as well as Brooke Allen. She and Trent both were involved in that stack up when Trent ran into the back of Benjamin Miles and Brooke Allen ran into the back of Trent. Anthony McCrury has scored a lap down. He's scored in 39th. Sean Gallighan's in 40th. We have 28 cars currently scored on the lead lap, and Anthony McCurry's about to go a second lap down now, it looks like. In that 61, he came in as the points leader. So this race has taken an absolute whirlybird turn for, I don't know if I can say for the worst, but it's just completely unusual, no doubt about that. Not the typical kind of race we're used to seeing here at Talladega, and 4 championship spots at Auto Club are on the line. Guy that could really capitalize on everything that's going on here could be that 78 of Matt Haas, former winner at this track this season. He's in the 3rd position, albeit not gaining a whole lot of ground on the top 2, and now K Llamas has the lap machine of Levi McIntyre between himself and DJ Curtis. But keep in mind what I said, these drivers could be borderline if we go green the rest of the way of being able to make it, because they came to pit road between laps 13 to 15. Drivers that came to pit road on laps 13 and 14, they might be just short, like anywhere from half a lap to 2 laps short. And if Gallighan hadn't had the issue on pit road, he might have been the only one in the field that had been good to go on fuel to the finish of the race. Another thing, too, that I'm noticing is there's not a whole lot of really big packs of race cars. You see 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4 here. But in a bigger pack, you're more likely to be able to save more fuel. If you're running by yourself or in a 2-car tandem, you're not going to save nearly as much fuel as you could if you're in a big pack. So, you know, for drivers that are in a big pack right now, this is certainly helpful for them because they're going to be having the opportunity to save some fuel and maybe be able to make it to the end. But I don't know. I really don't know. This This could end up having a lot of drivers running out of fuel and diving to pit road with anywhere from 2 to go, maybe even on the white flag lap. Right here, K Llamas, this is not helping him save any fuel. He'd be better off letting the 99 of McIntyre by. It's not for position. McIntyre would be back on the tail and lead lap, and K Llamas, with the benefit of the draft, would be saving some fuel. But right now, he's literally the one cutting the air. And I don't know if DJ Curtis is close enough that he's getting any of that draft, but even if he is, I don't think he's getting quite the benefit of fuel mileage that he would if he were tucked up right behind that 99 car. And they're going to encounter some traffic here as K Llamas looking for his first ever multiple win season. He has 3 career wins in Hershey's Cup Series competition. He ended up winning the regular season finale in his rookie year back in season 1 at M&M Super Speedway. He had a win last season that got him into the chase, and a win this season at Springfield Mile that got him into the chase. But in 4 seasons, I should say, he has had a total of 3 wins, 1 win each season for 3 seasons, and would love to be able to pick up his second ever, or his second win of the season. And we got problems. That's J Baskinger in the 5, another chase driver. And was there a wreck or what? No caution. It almost looks like he's out of fuel. He is out of fuel, and he's going to come to a stop on the apron. Now our NNSCRA official is going to call that as necessary for a caution. No, they're not. And S Gallighan now coming back onto the racetrack, but I think his championship hopes are done. And so now J Baskinger has run into issues here. I couldn't tell what exactly that looked like, if it was a fuel problem or if it was an engine mechanical problem. But they're dropping like flies. First Dunham, then Sandfer, then Gallighan, now Baskinger. And McCrury has had issues as well. He's off the lead lap. So right now, the only drivers that are currently in any way, shape, or form having some kind of a decent day here at Talladega are M Haas and now J Bryant, who has just cracked the top 10. Blaine Keys is 14th. So it's looking good for Blaine Keys. Looking good for Charles Sandfer. I forgot to mention him. He's 5th. So I think both of them are in good shape of moving into the Final Four. We mentioned McCrury having that 37-point gap between himself and that 4th and Staines cutoff line, but now he's running way at the rear of the field off the lead lap. And we still have to entertain the possibility that maybe someone like Sandfer, like Haas, maybe even JT Bryant, if they can get a late caution, they could move their way up here, get the win, and leapfrog into that Final Four. I mean, we know that M Haas has jumped past Trent Dunham, and M Haas was a total of 23 points behind J Baskinger coming into this race. He's obviously gotten some stage points as he ended up finishing top 10 here in this second stage. I really don't know, though. I mean, there's just so much flip-flopping of points going on right now, with drivers having good runs and drivers having miserable runs. But the constant has been K Llamas out in front since the cycle of green flag pit stops. But again, the question, he's had no draft out there at all. He's had him behind him drafting him, but he's been the one that's been cutting the dirty air for everyone else. Is K Llamas good to go on fuel? Likewise, DJ Curtis there in the 55. We have yet this season to have a driver win both a non-Charter Series and Charter Series race. The only 2 drivers that have won a Charter Series race as a non-Charter driver were Charles Jackson at Richmond and Caitlin Tsang at Eldora. But Caitlin Tsang didn't have a non-Charter win previously to that, and Charles Jackson's winless in the non-Charter Series. And now they're getting caught up behind Anthony McCrury and DJ Curtis on the bottom. He's going to go to the race lead, but here comes Levi McIntyre to the inside. He's trying to get his lap back, as is Johnny Gardner, as is Benjamin Miles. And Llama still stuck behind the 61. Now he'll try going around on the outside. And DJ going to try and tuck in front of Miles, and Miles says, no, sir. And Miles might actually be trying to keep that inside line open so his teammate K Llamas can get up here. There's Jessica Shelton about to go a lap down. This is not your typical restrictor plate race here today, but it certainly is interesting. And I don't think we've seen the last interesting tidbit of this race yet. Now they're caught up behind Jessica Shelton. Here comes K Llamas looking for the race lead again. He's going to get to the inside of DJ Curtis, and now Curtis is going to get boxed in on the high side behind Jessica Shelton. And Cody's going to take his own teammate 3 wide, try and get some lap traffic between himself and the 55, as now they're working on J Baskinger, so I can only assume he was out of fuel, which doesn't make sense to me because he came to pit road when everybody else did. Or did he? Maybe he didn't. Maybe he ended up getting boxed out of his pit box. I don't know. And now Cody Llamas is, well, I was going to say he's in a good spot running in the tire tracks of Levi McIntyre, but now he's going to step out of line on the 99. So fuel conservation is not on the mind of Cody Llamas right now. And now we get into the nitty-gritty of do they have enough fuel to make it, because we're getting into that window I was saying of if they can't make it, this is around the time they'd have to pit, and there you go! Just like I said, Llamas, he's in, DJ Curtis in as well. Someone might try rolling the dice, because whoever hits the line here, it's going to be 2 laps to go. Sandfer's going to try it! Why not? A guy who swept this race weekend back in Season 2. He won 4 races, 2 of them at this very racetrack. It got him into the Final 4. Charles Sandfer trying to do it. Next time buys the white flag. Does he have enough fuel to be able to make it 1.5 circuits? I mean, already J Baskinger, the driver he was trying to beat in that tiebreaker coming into this race, he's already ahead of him. Baskinger's had problems today, apparently, either mechanical or fuel-wise, we don't know. He came in with about a 21-point advantage between himself and Trent Dunham. Trent Dunham's out of this race. Why not risk it? Charles Sandfer trying to get himself 3 bonus point advantage heading into Auto Club, his home track. He's going to try it here. He's going to risk it and stay out. Charles Sandfer going to risk it for the biscuit to try and have himself in the number 1 seed heading into the season finale. White flag displayed, 1 more lap to go. Think back to the first cycle of pit stops. Sandfer got wrecked coming to pit road. You can see the damage to the rear of his Reese's Pieces Chevrolet. But he's going to try here to put a silver lining in that gray cloud. They never gave up, and Sandfer on the backstretch looking for that checkered flag. Retro Racing Enterprises came into this season as the defending championship team. They'll have a representative to try and go for 2 seasons in a row. Through turns 3 and 4, Charles Sandfer could coast. He's got 23 seconds in hand over teammate Kyle Mathews. Sandfer's going to bring it through the tri-oval. What a comeback victory. It's his 3rd career win at Talladega. It's his 2nd win of the season. Charles Sandfer takes the checkered flag here today at Talladega, and he's into the Final 4. How about that? And for the 2nd time in his Hershey's Cup Series career, Charles Sandfer will be heading into the season finale at his home track with a chance of winning the Hershey's Cup Series championship. Back in Season 2, he had 4 wins. He got into the Final 4 after winning the race here at Talladega, the next to last race of the season. He came up short to Chris Dodd. Last year, he couldn't find victory lane, and this season, he gets a win to get him into the chase, and it's almost deja vu from Season 2. Sandfer winning at Dega to get himself into the Final 4 to battle for the championship, and he's the only chase driver who finishes today in the top 10. No fuel, no surprise. It's a 1-2 finish for Retro Racing Enterprises today. The defending champion Kyle Mathews finishes 2nd to potentially the future champion in Charles Sandfer, but we're going to have to wait and see who his other 3 competitors are, and we got to find out now where those other chasers finished out this race. Sandfer, as mentioned, the only one to finish in the top 10. Kyle Mathews 2nd, Joseph Srigley in 3rd, Caitlin Sang 4th. We never talked about any of these guys here today that finished in the top 4. Dylan Poteet, we saw him have that incident with Sean Gallighan on pit road. He battled back for 5th. He was the one that dominated the first third of this race. L Alvarise brings it home in 6th, K Tellier 7th. Cody Llamas had to pit from the lead. He'll finish 8th, and Dallas McIntosh in 9th. And the highest finishing non-chaser today, Daniel Gilbert, will get the 10th position. But here's the big story. Here's the rest of your chase drivers, where they finished. Only one in the top 10. That was winner Charles Sandfer. Matt Haas was the second highest finishing chaser, back in 18th place. Then you got to go all the way down. You got to go outside the top 28 to find the other 6. You got Blaine Keys. He finished out of the race in 31st. JT Bryant, 32nd. Anthony McCrury in 38th. J Baskinger, 39th. Sean Gallighan in 40th. And Trent Dunham in 41st. That is crazy. And they're only battling now for 3 spots in the Final Four, because Sandfer's got one locked up now with that win. So I don't know who it is that's going to win this, going to get into the Final Four here. If I were to wager a guess, and please don't quote me on this because I do not know this for absolute certainty, I would say that not much changed as far as who came into this race in the Final Four and who's leaving in the Final Four, based on the fact that McCrury came in with that gap over everybody else, about 37 points in hand over fifth in the standings, which was Trent Dunham, and McCrury finished 3 spots ahead of Trent. You've got J Baskinger. He finishes 5 laps down in 39th, but you look at the fact that he came in 21 points over Trent Dunham, and he finished ahead of him. The one you would have to look at is Matt Haas in relation to where he finished to where J Baskinger finished. The gap between those two was 23 points. With Baskinger 39th, Matt Haas would have had to have finished in the 16th position or better, and he finished 18th. But again, those stage points could be important. And I believe Matt Haas did end up getting stage points, but so too did Jake Baskinger. Haas got stage points in stage 2. Baskinger got stage points in stage 1. Those stage points could be the deciding factor as to whether the 4th driver in the battle for the championship is going to be either Baskinger or Haas. I think McCrury and Keys are in. I know for certain Sandfer's in. It's all down, I think, to stage points as to whether it's Baskinger or Haas. You guys are going to find out before I do, because I'm going to have to go and calculate them. You're going to see them at the end of this video. But we know for certain it will be Charles Sandfer. We know that for absolute certain. But who are the drivers that are going to join him? Who will be the other 3? Folks, we've got ourselves set up for a doozy of a finale weekend in the championship race weekend on Auto Club. We've got the points really close to see who's going to get into the top 5 in the point standings at the last non-charter race of the season. 5 charters on the line. We've also got 4 drivers now locked into the Pizza Hut X Series championship hunt. We've got Elijah Gilbert. We've got Charlie Buxton, Jesse Turner, and Cole Deaver. Who's going to win of them? And then we're going to find out here in a moment who are going to be those final 4 to battle at Auto Club for the Hershey's Cup Series Championship. We have an opportunity, if McCrury makes it in, to have ourselves our first ever 2-time Hershey's Cup Series champion. But there are 3 other drivers that want to be able to get that championship from him as well. So thank you all for tuning to today's race here from Talladega. This was maybe one of the craziest Talladega races I have ever seen, and maybe it's because we had the Elite 8 turn into the Final 4. Maybe with that little bit of added hype there, that's why this seemed so crazy. But still, under any circumstances, this was a rather bizarre Talladega race. But hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become a part of the crew today. We have shown you your full finisher results. It weren't pretty for a number of your chase drivers, but we are now going to be showing you next your rookie points as well as your overall points, your chase points. You will see what it looks like, who are going to be the final 4 to battle for the championship next week at Auto Club. Can't wait to see you for championship race weekend. Till then, I'm Seth Cole signing off. You've been watching Production NNSCRA, offline racing at its best. Next week, we crown some champions in the NNSCRA.